Tesla just concluded their Cyber Rodeo event, and even though it wasn't too informational, and there's still some things I have questions about, I'm gonna save those for another video just so we can all talk about what we actually want to hear about, which is the Cybertruck. As far as the presentation goes, they basically just wanted to double down on the fact that the Cybertruck is coming, and they're building it after the Model Y ramps to 500,000 vehicles a year at Giga Texas, and then that's next on the agenda. I don't know if I believe them wholeheartedly on this, but they're claiming that the Cybertruck, Semi, and the Roadster are all gonna come out in 2023. But I've been told similar things in the past by the same people, so we'll see what actually happens. Regardless, though, they didn't want to give us too many new updates on the truck, especially apart from things we already knew. But the good news is lots of awesome content creators like Dirty Tesla and Tesla Canada, and everybody who I'll have linked in the description down below got some up-close shots of the Cybertruck. Thank you, everybody, for actually getting some details that we haven't caught before, particularly of the road-legal Cybertruck, which probably isn't like the finalized production model. It did have some quality control problems, so this is by no means final. However, someone was able to get a good shot of the interior and find the same yoke that we find on the Model S and X. It's missing an airbag, probably because, of course, it is a prototype and there's probably a lot of hand wiring going on, but I'm not sure if that'll make it to the final design, but that's something we didn't see before and now we know. Someone else was also able to grab a really close-up shot of the Tesla connector, which they've now embedded into that wheel well instead of having a dedicated, cut-out plate in the steel of the exoskeleton, which was probably just going to complicate manufacturing too much. And what's interesting is it's the Tesla connector from the old generation Model S and X with kind of the light-up ring around it. The more recent generation Model S and X has now abandoned that connector, so I have a feeling that's also not going to be on the production model, but it speaks volumes to the concept that the Cybertrucks we're seeing with the big old mirrors, which we also have a much better view of now. This is probably the biggest mirror I've ever seen on a Tesla, not counting the Semi-truck. But it makes sense because it's a bigger truck and people are going to use it for work that you would have pretty dang good visibility, despite the fact that Elon said they want to make it very, very easy to take off. Like, they're required to deliver it with side view mirrors, but owners are allowed to remove them, and I guess Tesla wants to replace that with cameras on the display. But there were actually multiple prototypes at this event that had side view mirrors, and several amazing shots that both Sawyer Merritt and Dirty Tesla were able to grab, especially during that golden hour. That Cybertruck just truly shines. It looks fantastic. We also got a more up-close look at, I think, Tesla's replacement for no door handles. So that was like pretty much the only update they addressed when they drove the Cybertruck up on stage. Franz and Elon joked about breaking the window again, but unfortunately they didn't. But yeah, because there's no physical door handles like the original 2019 prototype, there appears to be door buttons, kind of like the Mach-E, on the columns next to the doors, which I actually think is very practical. When I got to test drive the Mustang Mach-E, I thought the button approach was awesome. It felt very futuristic and it made the exterior feel a lot cleaner. And of course, in Tesla's case, it probably saves a ton on manufacturing because that rigid exoskeleton is tough. You can't use traditional stamping and cutting methods that you use with other body exteriors because the Cybertruck is extremely durable. So not having to cut out big rectangles in the side of the doors is probably going to save a lot on time. But of course, at the end of the day, Elon said on stage that the main goal of the truck is just that it recognizes you and the doors will automatically present themselves as you're walking up to the truck. So as futuristic and as cool as that sounds, I can still envision it being kind of impractical, especially if someone else is walking up to the car and they don't have their phone in their pocket or whatever. Or if there's just random people walking by the truck and you're inside it, how does it know to open the doors for strangers versus friends? Sounds rather complicated, so I have a feeling that those door buttons we're seeing on the columns are probably going to get used quite a bit. I'm honestly really hoping that they don't use the same yoke as the Model S and X on the Cybertruck, just because I don't feel like it really goes with the whole aesthetic as well as the original yoke prototype did. I get that they need to adjust that design a bit. It's got to have the blinker buttons, it's got to have the autopilot and the windshield wiper buttons, which, yeah, by the way, that windshield wiper is still enormous. But Elon himself has even said he's not terribly happy with that solution, so it might change again before production comes. Although as far as manufacturing simplicity goes, I can't imagine a mechanism that would be much simpler than that. I hope in the future they actually can give us a Cybertruck event where they update us on, you know, the frunk space. And the Kilowatts was talking to a Tesla employee who claimed there is a midgate on the Cybertruck, which got me really excited because that's probably the #1 feature I was hoping Tesla would adopt, which basically means that the bed can be accessed from the cab and vice versa. So people who are car camping with the Cybertruck, you know, would have a ton of space to work with. And especially if you're camping or you're parked in the city and you're sleeping in the truck and something's wrong, like someone's trying to mug you or break into the truck, or there's a bear outside while you're camping, being able to access the cab of the truck from the bed is going to be very, very important, because if you can't, you're basically going to be stuck there with no way out, unless Tesla figures out level 4 autonomy before then, which I'm not sure they will. But either way, it's good at least to get a little bit of confirmation, despite there being no pictures or evidence of that. It at least points to the idea that Tesla wants there to be a midgate on the Cybertruck, but of course it's a very difficult thing to engineer when the tonneau cover has to roll up and kind of go right where that midgate would sit. So it's a very complex problem, but Tesla has the best engineers in the world, and Elon has made companies that can, you know, land rockets in the middle of the ocean by themselves on a boat. So I'm sure they can figure out a tonneau cover midgate solution that works for everyone. I really hope they stay true to their timeline this time. It's not often that Elon acknowledges that they've been delaying it, and he basically just said with the supply chain shortages and, you know, the overwhelming demand they've faced in the past few years, they've had to delay the Cybertruck, but they seem to really be doubling down this time and emphasizing, yes, this is coming next year. They won't say exactly when next year. I think that's all going to be dependent on how quickly Giga Texas is able to ramp up, because they were pretty adamant that they want Texas to be building 500,000 vehicles a year out of that factory before they start production of the Cybertruck. But knowing that they're using the structural pack and the 4680s, which are built locally at that factory, I assume that the production ramp should go pretty dang smoothly, especially because we found out, thanks to Tesla Raj, that Giga Texas, yes, as I suspected, is building standard range all-wheel drive Model Ys. Those are not going to require a huge number of cells because it doesn't go that far. So hopefully ramp up will go pretty dang quick. But the Cybertruck, on the other hand, that's going to require a crap ton of batteries because it's a much bigger, heavier vehicle. Even with the exoskeleton, even with the structural pack, yes, this will weigh a ton. And especially if you want it going over 300 or 500 miles on a charge, it's going to take a big battery pack. There's no way around it. I still think it will be the most efficient electric pickup truck on the market. Couple that with the supercharging access. Yeah, this thing is still probably going to be the best truck in the world, but it's going to be quite the beast to mass produce, and I imagine that there's going to be a big long line of people willing to pay 6 figures for it. And because GM is able to get a backlog of 65,000 people willing to pay 100 grand for a Hummer, then yeah, I'm pretty confident Tesla's going to find a decent chunk of people willing to pay $100,000 for that initial quad motor Cybertruck that they start out with. And that's probably the only one they're going to be building for a couple of years, if I'm being completely frank. The demand for it is already off the charts. I can tell by the amount of clicks the Cybertruck update videos get and just the amount of internet traffic the Cybertruck causes. There's so much interest in this vehicle, and there's a ton of people willing to take out huge loans to get their trucks soon. So here's hoping Tesla can stay true to their timelines, and if there's any other updates, there may be a few after I finish posting this video. I'll be sure to keep you guys up to date as quickly as I possibly can. Thank you to everyone supporting the channel over on Patreon, making these videos possible and helping us afford a Tesla later this year. And thank you, of course, just for watching. Take care. Have a great day.